Welcome to the Sellernomics podcast, where we share valuable tips and information in the Amazon and e-commerce space. Each week, we deliver the best interviews with some of the top Amazon personalities in the industry to help you grow your business. Today's episode is brought to you by Getida, the global leader in FBA auditing and reimbursements. Get $400 in free FBA reimbursements at Getida.com/Sellernomics. And now, here are your hosts, Rob Stanley and Lisa Kinski.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to today's episode of Sellernomics. My name is Lisa Kinski. I'm joined by my co-host, Rob Stanley. And today we have with us a very exciting guest talking about tactical Amazon brand building through post-purchase process. I love alliteration. This is like my favorite title of an episode I think that we've had. And our guest with us today is Michael Kaufman with Brand Fortress HQ. So let's go on ahead and bring him on. Michael, how are you?
Good. How are you guys?
Doing very well. Michael. Thank you. And I have to say, I'm not sure if this is an Airbnb or maybe like your beach house, but the aesthetic behind you is super.
Very cool.
It is an Airbnb. Actually, we just moved to Puerto Rico like 4 days ago, and we've got a 6-week Airbnb while we try to find something a little bit more stable. So it's an Airbnb.
Very nice.
Love. Well, it looks very cozy. So great selection for your little stopover.
Yeah.
So, Michael, we're going to talk about Brand Fortress at the end of the episode. But right now, like I said, we're going to be focusing on that post-purchase process. And I guess the first question is, can any Amazon seller or Amazon business implement an effective post-purchase strategy? Or are there certain nuances where it may work for some and not for others?
I would say yes. I think that any business in the Amazon space could offer this kind of or use this post-purchase strategy. The problem is, I think it's all about the offer. And most of the time when I'm talking to sellers who either, who have tried it and failed at it, it's simply because the offer wasn't the right offer. And so when you're thinking this through, it basically comes down to whatever's on that insert, whatever mechanism you're using within your packaging to initiate that post-purchase process, whatever the offer is, it has to resonate with your target customer at that moment. And I think if you're not paying attention to those two things and thinking with the mind of your customer in that moment when they open the package, then you're probably going to lose them and you're not going to get the response rate. And then you're going to think it doesn't work. So it's just a matter of the offer. And that offer is going to be different for every business because they've all got a different customer base.
Yeah, absolutely. And Michael, why don't you just, I'm going to take it back even a little further. Let's just kind of explain what a post-purchase strategy is for those Amazon sellers that are maybe a little bit newer and, what it's involved in the post-purchase strategy. And also let's maybe mention how it interacts with terms of service. You mentioned insert cards. Let's cover that a little bit.
Sure. Yeah. So I would say, first of all, post-purchase really just is what happens after the Amazon purchase. So how are you making an attempt, let's say, to connect with your customer after the purchase? And realistically, the only way that you have to do that is through your packaging in some way, through the product or the packaging or an insert. Any of those, are potential ways that you might connect your customer to you. And if you don't do that, then they're not your customer. They're just Amazon's customer. You don't have a way to connect with them except through buyer seller messaging, which is a pretty inefficient way to do things. And there's only certain things you can say and a lot of things you can't say. So you really need to make that connection, and that post-purchase process is the way to do that, to get them onto a list so you can communicate with them.
And there is one change, though, and I could be mistaken, not a seller, but there was a change they made within the last year, though, right? Where if you utilize your Amazon storefront and your customer then follows your storefront, you can email them outside of that. So, that helps the seller a little bit. But for the most part, like you said, these customers are Amazon's customers, not yours.
Yeah, and even in that case, they're still Amazon's customers because essentially you're still basically utilizing Amazon's system to connect with them, which at the end of the day, that still means that Amazon sits between you two, and it means they get to filter your messages and decide what you can and can't say. There's a little bit more flexibility with the platform that you're mentioning, but it's still, you don't want Amazon being, sitting between you two. And Rob, you brought up TOS, which, of course, is a factor. I think that at the end of the day, I guess I would say two things. For me, yes, I want to follow Amazon TOS just the same as everybody else does, because you don't want your account shut down. You don't want to fall into that trap. By the same token, I think Amazon oftentimes, if what you're doing is something that actually is helpful and useful to the customer, and you're not abusing things in such a way as, specifically requesting only 5-star reviews, or doing, rebates in exchange for reviews, or, like, if you're not abusing things in a significant way, Amazon really doesn't pay a whole lot of attention to that. I really think that people get way too worked up over it. But I will say that the way that we do it is through a warranty. And I think if you had the opportunity, and I believe that most products could do it by way of either a warranty or a guarantee extension. Difference between those two things would be, with a warranty, typically you're looking at like replacement of an item that breaks or something down the road, where your guarantee is more of kind of an upfront thing, where it's, a refund, if you're not happy with your purchase or something. With Amazon, you get, I think it's maybe 60 days or something like that. You could do an extension of that guarantee on your product, for 3 months or 6 months or whatever you wanted it to be. And so either of those options, I think, would be one that probably puts you way more inside of Amazon's TOS than maybe other strategies that you might use for those inserts. But at the end of the day, again, as long as you're treating customers well and you're not really being exploitive in that process, Amazon's really not paying very close attention to that.
Yeah, that's a unique solution with the warranties. I think maybe we've touched on warranties one time on this show.
Yeah.
I
I like Michael's use of the word guarantee. I haven't actually heard that. I mean, I've been to a lot of things and everybody talks about a warranty card, but I liked your spin on the guarantee card. That's super cool. Maybe you could just kind of elaborate a little bit more on that, and then also let sellers or people know what's the benefits of building this kind of, strategy to be able to market to it later or use it to your advantage down the road.
Sure. Yeah. So, I mean, in terms of the warranty versus the guarantee, I think it really is just, like, obviously there are some products that, a warranty doesn't really seem to fit, like, I mean, that's a durable goods kind of a thing. And so if you're selling, say, a consumable, or you're selling, whether it's supplements or food or, any number of other things, chemicals for a pool or stuff like that, a warranty doesn't really strike the right chord. It doesn't feel right, but guarantee makes a whole lot more sense. And so, for those products where you look at it and you think, boy, yeah, we just really couldn't institute a warranty program, you absolutely could institute some sort of extended guarantee program. And again, as long as you extend that out in such a way that it is a significant benefit to the customer, right? If Amazon's giving them 60 days and you say, well, I'm going to give you 90, well, you probably haven't given them enough to make it worth them giving you their email in order to get that, right? But if instead of 60 days, they get a year or 6 months or something like that, something more extreme, then, the more extreme it is, the more likely, you're going to get that email. And from a benefit side, I think essentially it's one, we've already touched on it, until you actually have a way to communicate with your customer, they are Amazon's customer. They're not yours. Yeah. You have no way to connect with them, so they're not yours. And Amazon can shut you down at any time. I mean, obviously, sellers get nervous about this, and it's not like they're doing it to everybody, right? But there is always the chance that something happens that, Amazon gets upset about, even if you didn't actually break TOS, but they think you did, or some, weird thing happens with the algorithm or something. There is a chance that they shut you down, and it can be a long time before you get back. And sometimes you don't get back. And if that happens, you have lost everything that you built, because what you built is customers who like your product and want to buy from you. And as soon as they shut you down, you're done. So you can't rely on that. But that means that you have to interact personally with your customers. And stepping back to the idea of brand building through post-purchase process is, again, if they're not your customers, then you definitely don't have a brand. But beyond that, if they're not individuals who care about your brand, who would be willing to pay more because it's your brand, who actually want other products that are from your brand, then you're not actually a brand, right? And the only way that that happens is through that interaction with your customers. It has to be personal. You have to speak their language. They have to believe that you understand, their problems and that you're actually trying to solve them. So, you're not really a brand unless you're doing that. And unless you have them on a list of some sort so you can communicate with them, you can't.
Yeah, I can see how that would be a really great resource to have, because it is scary for Amazon sellers whenever their store does get shut down, because all of their eggs are kind of in that one basket, and then you get shut down. Is your mortgage going to get paid, right? So kind of having that, it's almost like a safety net of having your customer base, that you can still reach out to and contact, and maybe still fulfill orders through like a Shopify store. I mean, do you have to have, what does that look like?
At the end of the day, so to back up just a little bit, so we have about 35,000 email subscribers. And we get approximately a 50% open rate on just about everything that we send out. Wow. So if you look at that, there are a dozen different ways that you can potentially sell to that audience, right? It doesn't have to be Shopify. It doesn't have to be WooCommerce. There are so many different types of platforms that you can sell on these days. I mean, for Pete's sake, you can start a school, discussion group or something, for whatever topic that group of individuals might be interested in, and still make money from it. So it's one of those things where at the end of the day, you can make money in a dozen different ways if you have the list, and they're people who trust you and like you and believe in you, as long as you sell something that makes sense for that customer base. And it also doesn't matter how you do it. And at the end of the day, I would say, forget about, in the beginning, at least, forget about what other mechanism you might use to sell to them. Just build a list. You can figure that out later.
Yeah.
That's a very fair point.
Michael, I got a question regarding that. So you mentioned like basically sending messages or emails or a newsletter of some type to these people. And the reason I say it that way is because what are you sending? So if somebody has, let's say, only 2 or 3 products, they're, what kind of information should they be sending? They don't want to be just sending a buy my product type of email or newsletter. So what is some advice basically on that regarding either an email or newsletter when, let's say, it's a smaller kind of seller getting started?
Sure. I think that a few things. One, you don't want to never sell to them. Number one, because obviously then you never make any money, but also because you do have to prime that list to expect, offers, to expect to be sold to. But the thing is, nobody cares. What's a better way to say it? I wouldn't say that they don't care, but most people are not going to be upset if a person that they like tries to sell them something that they need or that they want, right? And as long as you're not doing it every time you email them, they're really not going to be upset about that. Like, there's going to be a good response to it, but there has to be a balance. Everybody has, their own ideas about what that balance looks like. I would say, a good rule of thumb is probably make sure that they're getting at least, say 3 pieces of content from you, that are non, marketing content before you send them something, to make, introduce them to a product that you want to sell them. Right. But
yeah,
in terms of what that looks like, newsletter is nice, because, the thing about a newsletter is people expect it on a regular frequency. So if it's a newsletter, automatically they're primed that I'm going to get this once a week or twice a week, or whatever it is. Now, the other thing about a newsletter is if you say that's what we're doing, well, then you better make sure you can fulfill on that and you're going to actually send it, because consistency is one of those things that people pay attention to. So if you say, I'm going to send something every week, and it ends up being every month, or this month it was every, 3 weeks, and the next month it's 2 weeks, then, people don't like inconsistency. So whatever it is that you say you're going to do it. Now, I would say that even an autoresponder, campaign, if it's useful information, I think that most people are still, that's going to resonate with them, as long as it's something that helps them, because we've got, we don't actually do technically a newsletter. we do an autoresponder sequence that goes once a week with information about, Proto Products is a pool tools company. So that's what we sell, is pool tools. And we send out once a week an email that basically just gives them a tip for maintenance. Sometimes it's a tip on how to use our products effectively, to get better production out of them. But oftentimes it has nothing to do with our products. It will just be a tip for better pool maintenance. How do I make it easier? How do I make it faster? And I would say, make sure that the things that you're providing them are not only on topic, but know your customer, right? Like, we sell to pool owners, but we sell to a very specific type of pool owner. Like, they're a very, fairly high income. They have an in-ground pool. Hardly any of them has an above ground pool. They're very family oriented. They're guys who generally are putting in a lot of hours at work. They don't have enough time for family. So if you're hitting on their true pain points with the things that you're sending them that solves a problem, that's going to resonate with them. If you're solving a problem for generic pool owners, but it's a problem that typically your customer doesn't actually have, then you're not helping them. For instance, above ground pool owners deal with different things than in-ground pool owners do. So if I'm solving above ground problems and I just think, well, it's for pools, then I'm ruining, my connection with the customer. So be careful with that. But
yeah,
I like that.
I do too. And as someone who had an above ground pool and I have friends with in-ground pools, it is different. If you've never had your own pool, it is not all the same.
Or even hot tub owners, they're going to be different too. Yeah.
I have a whole thing about hot tubs. My dad owned a hot tub company. I've got all the opinions. You guys, we are going to take a quick break in here from our sponsor, but we will be right back with Michael in just a minute.
Today's episode is brought to you by Getida, the global leader in FBA auditing and reimbursements. Get $400 in free FBA reimbursements at Getida.com/Sellernomics.
All right, you guys, be sure to head over to Getida.com/Sellernomics for the first 400 in FBA reimbursements free. We are back with Michael Kaufman. Michael, I have a question for you. So you were speaking about your product. It's Pro Tough Products. It's pool care accessories or pool tools, like you said. And you just said something that I don't think a lot of Amazon sellers actually know. Is you said, your product is for high income earners. They are working a lot. They have an in-ground pool. You have so much about your product, purchasers, about your customer base. How did you ascertain a lot of that information? Because I feel like Amazon sellers have a problem with they know who they're marketing to, but they don't actually know who's buying their item because, like you said, it is Amazon's customer. So how did you get all that information? And if you don't mind sharing a little bit of the strategy.
Sure. I would say partly by accident and partly by research. So I think that maybe the most important piece of this is recognizing that as you start interacting with your customers through your list, you're going to begin to learn who they are. So I think that it's highly likely that in the beginning, you think your customer is this guy or this lady. As you begin interacting with them more, you recognize it's actually this person. Or what you find is, yes, that original person that you were thinking of is your customer, but they're not the best version of your customer. So you can dial that in over time as you interact with them, like whether that be, so, and to back up before I get there, also, Amazon does give you some good information, like even just in the brand analytics, the demographics area. If you haven't dug in there, at least dig in there. Like they're going to tell you a fair amount of the basics of who your customer is. And I would actually encourage everybody to look at that information and then to take some time to think about what does that tell me? What extra does that tell me about them, right? Like you can read between the lines a little bit. So if you know that you're selling a very high price product for a particular niche, that alone may tell you a certain amount about the customer and how they're using the product or what they're using it for. But then you combine that with the demographic data that you get from Amazon, you can start to build that profile a little bit. But then beyond that is that interaction with the customer. So, just simply surveying them, asking them questions, figuring out what emails you send them seem to resonate with them and what emails don't. Change the tone of voice, change the type of wording that you're using, the phrasing that you're using, that sort of thing, and see how it resonates. What's your response rate? How does that change? One of the things that we do that's become really useful for us using this list is we basically make all of our product launches a very organic process, start to finish. So in other words, when it's time that, and ultimately it should always be the time, but when we're thinking, okay, we want to launch a new product and we know what that might be, right? The first thing we're going to do is communicate with our list and say, hey, if we release this product, would it be something you'd be interested in? Like how many of you would buy this? If it had the right features and it was at the right price point and it offered the unlimited, free replacement warranty like we offer on everything else, would you buy it? What price point would you pay? Which, by the way, if you ask a customer that, never believe the answer that they give you, because they're always going to answer lower than what they actually would pay. But it gives you a foundation on which to build from, right? But again, as you survey them, like as we walk through that process, okay, what features, would you want to see? What are the things that you hate about the products that are already on the market? What are the things you wish we would improve? And we walk through that process until we get to a point where we think, okay, we know exactly what that product is that they're looking for, what they want it to do, what they care about, what they don't care about. And again, you can reverse engineer that. So once you start recognizing what are the things that my customers are asking for with regards to this product, you begin to see who it is that you're dealing with, right? Like, are they saying I want it to be more durable, or are they saying I want it to look better? Like when I hang it on my wall, it looks more attractive, and everybody is envious of it, or whatever. Like those are differentials between customers that you can then begin to build out that profile and figure out who that person is. But in terms of those launches, once we go through that, then, okay, now we're at beta stage, right? We've got a prototype. Who wants to beta test it, and then we send it out. We have it beta tested. We get response back, like, okay, this didn't work. This did work, whatever. We can then communicate with our list and say, all right, this is how the beta test went. This is what went wrong. This is what we're going to fix. We go back to the drawing board. We come back with another, and we can do that over and over again until we get it right. So that when we finally release it on Amazon, there's almost no way that we're not going to get 5-star reviews across the board, because we fixed every problem that everybody was, wanting fixed. And when it comes time for launch, all of our customers on that list, they feel like it's their product. Like they essentially designed the entire thing. So when it comes time for a launch, we might offer a 10 or 15% discount to, people on our list. We got 35,000 people to sell to. We can launch any product we want, anytime we want. And we essentially don't really have to discount it much. So every launch is profitable.
Yeah, absolutely. Michael, why do you think, you just gave great examples on why this is effective and why it works so well, at least for you and your product. Why do you think some of these Amazon sellers are just not taking advantage of some of these post-purchase, strategies and stuff? Like what's stopping? Are they just not aware they can do it? Or, what's the problem kind of slowing them down from doing it?
I would say that it's likely that many of them are afraid of TOS violation. But I would say there's probably an equal number who have actually tried it and didn't get the result that they wanted. And I think, again, it comes back to what was the offer, right? I'll give you an example. Most of the time, I would say probably 9 times out of 10, when I talk to an Amazon seller who's not using post-purchase, those who tell me that they tried it and it didn't work, if I dig into that, almost always what they will tell me is, we included an insert that offered them a discount on their next purchase and nobody responded to it. And my question then is, how did they know that they wanted the discount if they've never used the product before?
Yeah.
Because you're not, essentially, you're trying to put new to brand people on your list. Like everybody else should already be on it. Of course, obviously, if you haven't done it yet, that's true. But essentially now, if you don't have a list, then almost everybody that you're selling to is new to brand, because you don't have a way to communicate with people to bring them back. So if they're new to brand, why on earth would they care that you're offering them a discount if they don't even know if they like the product or not? That was the problem. The offer was wrong. At least it was the wrong timing, right? Like a discount is great, but the timing is terrible. They don't even know if they want it. So by the time they do know they want the discount, they've lost the insert. They don't know how to get it. And so it just Wrong offer, wrong time.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
you mentioned something earlier about like lifetime warranty. And, this is the way I always see it. I bet you I've signed up for 1 million lifetime warranties and never taken advantage of one of them. But
Right.
the point is, it got me to sign up, right? So
Right.
is that kind of a good hook to kind of people should look at, is that lifetime warranty? Because maybe in their head, they're thinking, oh my gosh, I'm selling this really expensive item. I can't be offering a lifetime warranty, when the reality is people will sign up and probably never do it. Is that kind of a hook there that they use?
It's actually really interesting. I would say that almost any durable good, if you're not offering a relatively extreme warranty in your category, you're missing out on a lot of opportunity, because most other sellers are going to be afraid to do it. And what's interesting is, there are actually a number of reasons why a warranty will never cost you as much as you think it's going to. So we offer a full, unlimited, free replacement lifetime warranty. So in other words, as long as you live and as long as we exist as a brand, if you have a problem with the product, we will replace it. Now, we try to replace parts if we can. So that's one thing. If you're going to offer a lifetime warranty, if it's possible and if it's beneficial, I would say make sure that your product is modular so that you can replace parts instead of replacing the entire item, because that's going to be way cheaper, not just on the cost of the item, but of course you've got fulfillment also. And I would say our fulfillment costs for warranty replacements are at least as much, and most of the time more, than the actual cost of the item that we're shipping out as a replacement. So that's thing one. You need to evaluate that and see if there's a way that you could potentially redesign the product in such a way to make replacements cheaper. And certainly make it as durable as you can for those features that you think are likely to break. But beyond that, like you said, Rob, a lot of people who register never take advantage of the warranty. So that's thing one. And we have seen that to be true. There's a large number of people who register and never take advantage of it. On the flip side, it's also such that if your product, like an ideal product for something like this is like fitness, right? Let's say you sell elastic bands, for fitness. And that the majority of people who buy elastic bands for fitness have decided that they're out of shape. They want to work out. This is an easy entry point. It's inexpensive, right? And they think at that moment they're going to continue to work out multiple times, per week forever. So you offer them a full unlimited replacement, lifetime warranty, whatever, right? And they think, wow, I would pay 3 times as much for that product because I'll never have to buy it again, right? And then 2 weeks later, it's in their closet. They never open they never use it again. So you never have to fulfill on that warranty. If you sell a product like that, then a warranty is a terrific idea for you, because those who do take advantage of the warranty, you can treat them extremely well. I mean, like, you can treat them like a king, because there's very few of them that actually take advantage of it. Other things, like, let's say it's a product that is tied to, say, a particular house, like something that you have in your house. Well, people move, right? Like, ours is a perfect example of that. We sell stuff for pools. I can't tell you the number of people who move from a house that has a pool to a house that doesn't have a pool, and they obviously don't bring the products with them. And the people who move in, they now have the product, but they don't know that it has a lifetime warranty. So they're not taking advantage of it. So there's, we have customers who they take advantage of the warranty maybe once, maybe twice, and then they feel guilty about taking advantage of it again because we make the process so easy and hassle-free. They love us as a company. And so they'll come back and just buy the product again because they're like, nah, you guys have already, I've already gotten my money's worth out of it. The product lasted 2-3 times what any other product lasts, and you've replaced it twice already. I'm just going to buy another one. So there's all sorts of reasons why that warranty is not likely to cost you nearly as much as you think it's going to cost you, and why you can charge way more for the product if you offer it. But I would say this, whatever the warranty offer is, make it extreme for your category, but make it believable. Because the one thing that I think we did wrong is that we made it unlimited free replacement forever, because it's not believable. Now, at this point, we're fortunate because our brand has gotten to the point where we have so many 5-star reviews behind us that it has a lot of credibility, right? But if you're starting out and you don't have that many reviews and you say unlimited free replacement, lifetime warranty, nobody's going to believe that. They're never going to believe that you're going to stand behind that because they don't think you could actually afford to do it, right? Because they think everybody who buys it is going to take advantage of that numerous times, even though that's not what's true. That's what's in their head. So they don't believe it. So I would say, if everybody in your category is offering a 1 year, offer a 5 year. Like it's extreme. It's way bigger than everybody else, but it has a time limit on it. It's believable. So extreme but believable, I think, is really the best approach if you're going to do a warranty.
I love that. And then, like you said, if somebody does take advantage of that, you can treat them like royalty. So also extreme but believable, but make good on it. I think that's the problem. Where a lot of people have is, there's warranties on certain products, but the hoops you have to jump through to get it for them. They're like, okay, well, did you misuse it in this way, or was this random weird extenuating circumstance that we don't cover? Like,
don't do it. Because like you said, that's what everybody does, right? So if you want to stand out, you're not going to stand out in a good way if you offer a 5 year versus a 1 year, but you don't stand behind it. Like it's no better than the others. Our warranty process, literally, number one, we don't require that people register at the point of purchase. We incentivize it. Like we're going to do everything that we can to kind of try to get them to register as soon as possible, right? So we are incentivizing it, but we don't require it. If they want to register at the time of filing a claim, they can do so. Why would I not want them to? Like, I still get their email. And also, this is important. This is really an important piece. If you run a warranty process, then that means that you're going to have to replace items. You can't replace an item if you don't have a physical address to ship to, right? So on our registration form, our warranty registration form asks for, but does not require, a physical address, because technically we don't need it at that point. We don't need it till they file a claim. We don't require it. They could submit the registration without it. 90% of our registrations include a physical address. So if you wanted to do postcard mailings or all sorts of other things, you also have a physical address. Anything else that you do besides a warranty, you're not ever going to get that kind of response rate with people giving you physical addresses if you think you'd like to use them. So that's another reason for a warranty. But our process, even if they haven't registered previously, when they come in to make a claim, in about 90 seconds, they can finalize their claim. It's a completely automated process. Nobody has to be involved. We rubber stamp virtually every warranty. So why would I have a person involved in that process? I'm just paying for hours that I don't need to pay for. So it's completely automated. 90 seconds later, they get a confirmation. Your warranty claim's been processed. It's been approved. You will have an item on your doorstep within the week. That's
incredible.
It. That's the process.
Absolutely.
And then once they have the item, once we know it's been delivered, then we can email them and say, hey, did the product arrive, safely? Is it all intact? Do you have any other questions? Is there any other problem? If not, please leave us a review. Who is not going to leave me a 5-star review? I don't have to ask for a 5-star. I just say, please be sure to leave a review. Every single one of them is going to be a 5-star review because the process was amazing.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Which doesn't violate TOS, but you can ask for a review. You just cannot ask for it to be a positive review. Yeah, absolutely.
I just ask for a review, knowing that it's going to be 5-star. I don't have to ask for 5-star. I know it's going to be.
Yeah, that's
Love
awesome.
it. Wow. Well, Michael, thank you so much for sharing all of that. So we've talked, obviously about, you have lots of experience as a seller. You've got ProTough products. I just went to your website, very streamlined, great pool products. It looks like, I had similar things at my parents' house when we had our pool. But let's talk about now Brand Fortress HQ. So we need to get kind of towards the end of the episode, running out of time here. Tell us about Brand Fortress. What is that all about and where folks can learn more?
Yeah. So ultimately, I connected with a couple of other guys in the space. We've been doing masterminds for about a year. And, all three of us really just enjoy mentoring and consulting for other Amazon businesses. It's just, I love to talk about it. You can tell. So it just became such a thing that it just made sense, that we would take that and utilize that for other sellers. So, we've been recording, all of our, mastermind sessions. We're offering those up through Brand Fortress HQ to, people who register for our mentoring programs. We do online consultations. We've started a podcast where we're presenting a lot of those same things. But ultimately, the thing that we tend to focus on most is that idea of actually building a brand and using the post-purchase process to do that. So obviously, we talk about a lot of other things because there's many other things you need to focus on with Amazon brands. But if you're not building a brand, you're shooting yourself in the foot. And if you're not building a list, you're already dead. So, those are the things that really are the primary focus of what we do. And so if you're looking for any consultation or mentoring in that area, or you're looking for good content on how to do it, Brand Fortress HQ is where you want to go.
Fantastic.
Awesome.
And for our audio listeners, that is brandfortresshq.com. If you guys want to hear the podcast, same URL, just tack on a /podcast. And if you're interested in getting in touch with Michael directly with any questions about the tips that he shared today or learning more about Brand Fortress, you can email him at mkaufman, Kauf as in Frank, MAN, at protoughproducts.com. Tough is TUFF, like stuff, like professional stuff. Products for your pool. I don't know. I'm just totally ad-libbing that.
No, that was perfect.
Amazing. Michael, thank you so much for being here today. Definitely excited to check out the show. We've, our one of your I guess co-founders, I guess we could say, of Brand Fortress was on Prime Talk. We had John on, and y'all actually just hosted Yoni. So excited to hear his episode come out and check out some of the other interviews, but really appreciate your time today. Thank you.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Thanks a lot, guys.
Yes, thank you. And thank you so much for everybody who tuned in today. If you guys liked what you heard, please be sure to give us a thumbs up, share your thoughts with us in the comments, subscribe to the show, and we will see you all on the next one.
Thanks for joining us this week on the Sellernomics podcast. Special thanks to our sponsor, Getida. Did you know that Amazon probably owes you money for FBA reimbursements? Get $400 in free FBA reimbursements at Getida.com/Sellernomics. Be sure to join us again next week for more great tips on how to grow your business. And thanks again for listening.